you. So we'll open up to questions. Thank you to our panelists. Okay, so we have a question in front.
Thank you. I'm working on a project that includes your community, and in a very positive, like instead of a Renaissance festival, an Arabian Nights festival, Scheherazade, all this stuff, and I'm still getting blowback about Sharia law and stuff that has nothing to do with it. But I'm there like, when is this going to stop, I guess, or how do you address it? Because it's not part of the story at all, but it's coming from discrimination and misunderstanding specifically, and Sharia law seems to be the one that comes up the most commonly.
Where do you live? ¿De dónde eres? No. Where you live here?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, if they're like just genuinely concerned, just like try to have a real conversation with them, like a real conversation. If they're doing this out of like straight up hate and like,
No.
okay, well then, you can talk to them. If you know anything about Sharia law, then you can maybe talk to them about how your project is not really addressing that or dealing with that, or and just give them a little more insight about what your project really is, and invite them out. Like, hey, look, you could probably learn something about X, Y, or Z by coming to see this. Sharia law is a headline, man. We're in a day where these headlines are killing us, man. We're looking at the headline, and then people develop a belief or an idea about something, or an entire group of people, and then we see where that's gotten us. And so this is the day where we can like go a little deeper than that. And that's, we're not dealing in the fear-based like headlines right now, like, or at least we're trying not to. And maybe you can have that conversation to go to the deeper, to the deeper level with them, and really try to understand where they're coming from. Yeah, for sure.
Came all the way from Atlanta for this question, so
For
I'm gonna
real?
try to be
Thanks
brief.
for being
Sue.
here.
I'm
Thanks.
Hey, I'm gonna try to be brief, Sue. I don't know where you at, but I'm gonna try to be brief. I feel that a lot of things from the small screen kind of trickle over to the large screen, and a lot of what we're missing on the small screen is portrayals of Black Muslim love. We don't see us. My husband and I was the first Black Muslim couple that actually did a TED Talk, and it was in front of 99% of a white crowd. And seriously, in a small town in the Midwest, and they were like, oh my God, you guys are like a breath of fresh air. They had seen nothing like it whatsoever. Yeah, whatsoever. But it was, it was something new to them, and they absolutely love it. They actually invited us back to like host the TED thing, for that. So what I'm saying is that we don't see ourselves on the small screen as much, and they don't understand the dynamics between a husband and a wife, because they don't see like that Black love. So what I'm looking for, is the Black Muslim George and Wheezy, or the Black Muslim Martin and Gina, or the Black Muslim Cliff and Claire, and if you guys need to write it, have your people call our people, and we'll get it together. But just wanted to know if there's anything coming down the pipeline with Black Muslim love from you guys, besides for what we're seeing, which is, divorce, and we saw with Muslim the drama with your parents, and then, the dysfunction with your mom.
Yeah. Well, I can say Jen for me is a love story, because there are several storylines in the film that deal with people's love for one another, the love between a mother and daughter, the love between Summer and Tahir, the love between his parents. That's a very loving relationship. The love between the Black girlfriends in the film. So I think sometimes we have this idea of love as like this perfect kind of beautiful thing, and it can be, but it also can be difficult, and love takes work. And love is a journey, and I love exploring love in all of my films, and even in some of the TV projects that I'm working on. So I know for me that's a priority. showing Black Muslim people, showing Black people in love is like such a revolutionary thing for me, because I feel like throughout history we've been shown not to love and that we're not deserving of love, especially for Black women. And there's so many tropes related to our sexuality that I feel like it's even really problematic sometimes to even show sensuality in terms of Black women and Black Muslim women. So that's something I always am interested in, and I think I tried to do that in Jen, and I'm going to continue to do that with my work.
Well, I just need to say, first off, like, I said the film was about divorce, Muslim's Guide to Marriage, but I'm not going to give it away because it eventually come out. But, I mean, the reality is, like, you know, there's multiple forms of love, right? And I'm thinking the film, there's parts in it, obviously, that would maybe check your box off that you just asked about in terms of seeing Black Muslims in love. But I believe that it starts with, you know, radical self-love, right? Radical representations of loving self, but loving ourselves as a culture as well as a people, right? So I think that the film itself, the film Muslim's Guide to Marriage and Bilalian, those are love letters to my community. And I think that, and you said small screen, right? Small screen would be TV, right? I mean, definitely that's coming, you know what I mean, from myself at some point. But the reality is, when those things show up, we need to make sure we support, right? So television and this is a business where you have to show up, right? So especially now in terms of, like, what you're asking for, and I agree with you on this, is that the idea of seeing just Black people in love, right? Like, that's radical, because it's not, you know, you mentioned Claire and Cliff, yeah, the Huxtables. Like, when they did that show, was like, that was radical, right? That was seen as being radical. So I think the reality is that first off, I'm not interested in showing people being, like, perfectly in love. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a point where we have to talk about it as, you know, the many forms of love, and it's more than just, like, it's going to be perfect, right? You know what I mean? But I do think that I agree, I want to see more of that, more representation of that. And you're asking, when is that coming, or what are you asking specifically?
I was asking if you guys were working on anything in any projects in regards to that. And I'm not saying that Black love, Muslim love has to be perfect, but also the day-to-day interaction between a husband and a wife, the jokingly, the George and Wheezy, you know, the dynamics, the Martin and Gina, you know, dynamics. Now, we don't get to see that with Black Muslim couples. We don't get to see it on small screen, and definitely, you know, we haven't really seen it on.
I know you're not saying that because I'm familiar with you.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but, like, I gotta put my moderator shoes on, and this conversation we need to continue, and we have several questions lined up.
I am working on the show. I just can't say what it is right now. So yes.
Okay.
So y'all will hear about it in a few months.
All right, then. I just want to thank you all for what you're doing. And also, how do you source for funds for your films?
Anything, so you just have to find it. I mean, there's like, I told you, when I say I was literally selling DVDs at a liquor store to raise funding for my next little movie I made in Detroit. Then I made some shorts and I won a competition. I won 10 G's and I put that in my next short. Then I the competition judge, one of them was Danny Glover, and I was like, hey, Danny, you want to be my movie? You know, he's like, sure. It wasn't like that. It was like a 2-year process, but, you know, this is a short version. Then you get Danny Glover, then investors listen to his name. You know, so, like, it's just all kinds of ways. But along the way, like I said, you get 1,000 no's. It just takes one person to be like, yeah. I mean, I had one film, an NFL dude, you know, invested, and along with an old white man who just sold his company and made $30 million. You know, so, like, you just got to find it, and you just got to be open to, like, to getting it in there and doing the dirty work of finding investors. Or but I think it always starts with writing something great. You gotta write something dope. And, you know, in this way, if you write something dope, you might not have to do any of that yourself. You get a manager or agent or someone to recognize that. It all starts on the page, you know? Like, if you're doing a movie or TV show, it starts on the page. And if you got something great, you don't have to have any money for that. But you do have to know something about writing. You do have to make sure that all of that part, when they open that screenplay, that it's legit.
I want to add to this, which is like, first off, don't wait for people to recognize your greatness. It's about authenticity. So I think that there's like, if you just lean into writing what you know, I think even if it's not perfect, you know, like I've taught enough students to tell you, I've seen people make films, I've taught students, and I'm like, that's hot. Like, you know, the difference is that you just don't have access to people that can magnify it. And I think sometimes we are waiting for people to say, you know, to say you're a filmmaker, you're in the gates, right? But I would say, the question of where do we get our money from? I mean, with Bilalian, at one point we showed the film halfway through. This is before crowdfunding or whatever, like, you know, internet funding or whatever. We actually showed it at a mosque. We showed it, people would chip into, put money into a little basket, and we'd use that money, right? So like non-traditional ways of funding. You talked about the NFL player too. But just don't wait, you know, don't wait, you know, just make it, you know.
Sure, thank you
Having the
to
time.
all of you, it's been amazing. My question is to Qasim. So I know you can't talk about what you're working on in specifics,
Shouldn't even brought it
but
up.
the fact that you are working on When You Can Tell Everyone will be impactful as the first, I would say one of the first, it would probably be the first drama that deals with a Muslim family in a 1-hour drama that we would ever see on cable in the American diaspora, dealing with just whatever is there. Because you're writing such a broad subject, what are your challenges dealing with the white executives who you are dealing with while you write, not being black Muslims and not understanding the specific nuance points for them to back you in notes and giving that? What are your challenges just as a writer dealing with that when you're talking about them?
Well, it really colored my answer I had a few minutes ago about why I'm so hopeful towards what's happening, because of how open they've been to this, what I feel is probably a radical story of a family in Detroit, you know, like that no one's ever seen before on TV, like this. So they are actually, I'm not getting any blowback. Just the only blowback from notes is to make sure it's great, you know, and it's been an incredible process actually, and I think it's making me a better filmmaker. And you know, I'm excited to continue down the road with them. You know, from the time I pitched it, it was like, you know, that's what I'm saying. People want this kind of stuff now. Like people are rising up and saying, I want my story to be told, and people are listening now. And I think, and I'm encouraged by. Yeah, no, I mean, I was just fearful because pitching is hard as hell. Like this, just, you know, you stand up in front of in a room of executives just looking at you, you know, and then your heart is like, and you're just like, yeah, so I got this. Yeah, so that, but other than that, I wasn't ever afraid of that story because it's my story, you know.
Can I quickly add? I also have this similar experience in the writers' room that I was in developing Black Muslim characters. There's no blowback because they want it.
Right,
They
right,
want that
right.
character, and they're so interested in getting the authentic and the real and the nuanced portrayal that, you know, I didn't experience anybody having an issue with that because also they don't know a lot, so they're kind of like digging. You know, it's an undiscovered thing. They want to dig and they want to get to that portrayal and have it be fresh. So it was actually a very similar experience.
Hi, assalamu alaikum. I have a question. I think it's interesting listening to each of you because one of the things, because I do feel like we're in this renaissance, right, where people are wanting to hear your pitch, are hearing your character in the writer's room. One of the things that concerns me is, do you ever feel like, or what I'm concerned about is like when that work is made, and we talk about will we support the work, right? And having a diversity of stories told, because we're always like, what is an authentic Muslim character? Well, Nigel's authentic Muslim character may be different from Amina's authentic Muslim, meaning there's a Muslim in Detroit and a Muslim in Oakland, and there's someone in Los Angeles, and they're all going to look a little bit different because they're human beings. So I wonder, in terms of thinking about the reception of it, have you, with the works that you've already done, have you felt like there's any ways where we as the Muslim community is cannibalizing itself in terms of the work that comes out? We're trashing it before it even, you talked about people, the comment section. Like, for me, I raced to see all of you. I saw all of your films. Yeah. I couldn't wait for Jen. I couldn't wait for Muslim. I couldn't wait for Muslima's Guide to Marriage. I saw Rami. I ate it up. I devoured it, right? And for me to critique it like I critique every other film that I watch. So I wonder, like, that's my concern. Like, the work comes out, but have you felt like it's been, we as a community, we kind of cannibalize it before it gets out there?
I have seen that. I have seen it just from the name of my film, without people even understanding what the story was about. I've seen people dismiss me and not even respond to me.
Yeah.
And that's hurtful.
Yeah.
Because I made this film out of love. This is
Yeah.
a film about love and family and just a love of my community, to just have someone tell me I'm not real or I'm not worthy of telling my story. That is just really hurtful. But at the same time, I've experienced overwhelming support just across the board from all over the country, internationally. So it kind of balanced out, and I don't even focus on the negativity, but I have seen people like, even with Rami, like, we can't tell that story. We can't air that dirty laundry. We can't see that in a TV show. And I think that the thing that happens when if you say you're representing a community, this issue happens because you can't represent everybody. You can only tell your story, and in that truth will resonate to people. But I never say that I'm representing all Muslims, because I can't do that. And I think we don't do that for other filmmakers. We don't do that for white filmmakers. We don't do that for anyone else. So why should we feel that we are representing every single black Muslim or every Muslim? And I don't like that responsibility sometimes, because it puts a pressure on me as an artist to go beyond an artist and try to satisfy every single person. And I'm making art at the end of the day, but it's just tricky with this conversation around representation. For me, it really causes some frustration for me sometimes.
I really have to give an answer, because this part, Muslim, what is that? This is called Muslim. Like, I know it's Muslim is the name of but like, when I talk about the amount of representation that's out there on Muslim people in general, it's so one side. It's so heavily terrorist, extremist. Boom. That's like people who have never been around Muslim people. If that comes up at all, it's in this immediate association with something negative. So then there are people like us who are out here in this business, like making things. They might not be exactly what a person that's Muslim would want them to be. It might not represent everyone entirely, but it's a story that offers some human beings that are walking around in hijabs and are saying assalamu alaikum, which is like something you never get to see. So like, the criticism from within the community for the small thing, like, hey, brother kissing a sister, it's like, come on, son, like your son is doing that too. The fact you don't want to talk about it, that's on you. But I'm telling you right now, when he walks in that classroom, sees that girl, and his heart starts fluttering, that's something that's happening. It's happening. And like, those of us who are out here in the fight, like, it probably makes sense to support it, and not like fight about the little things. Because I tell you, the name of Islam is getting like destroyed in media. And so those of us who are out here doing it, like, we probably want to at least be able to get stuff out there that offers another side, a human side.
I mean, that's why I reacted to the divorce thing, because it's like making sure that we, and I'm saying this is like a trigger, right? The reality is, the reason why you have to have, I mean, we're all here because we're all telling different stories, right? The reality is that the monolith of of Islam being just one identity, right? One racial identity, and then the monolith of Black Muslims being one identity would be at a disservice for the people who are not experiencing that perfect version, right? Yeah. So the reality is, yes, we can't, you said cannibalize?
before you even know what
Yeah.
So I want to say
right.
we're just getting started and the
Yeah.
program is ending. So this conversation is so important. So this needs to be part one of a series. And so to kind of and we'll continue the conversation tonight. And but I want to kind of walk away with maybe if you have 1 minute takeaway of, or just share with us a project that we can support, so we'll just kind of, what are things that you're doing and how can we support and follow up? So just 1 minute to do it, whether you want to share your handle or something to follow, something that we can click, that we could download, let us know. So we'll start with Amina. Yeah.
Say, oh Allah.
That'll be.
No, I was, yeah. My sister is here, Kenyatta, who's my producer. So MuslimARC.com, and we'll have the information on the film, the show. I mean, there's one of the ways I'm able to do as much stuff I do is just I don't pay attention to social media like that. But basically, when the film is out, support it. But also just, for me, it's like Muslima's Guide to Marriage. It's another project coming. I'm working, like I said, with Heartbeat right now. For me, it's support me, but also support everyone else on this panel. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to lift up MuslimARC as well too, because you guys have been in that background, but also in that foreground. And I know I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that organization. So you guys are doing a lot of that work as well. So I want to thank Marguerite.
We got East La Brea coming out, but I didn't want to plug it too much, but it's coming East La Brea, which is a Black Muslim narrative.
Yes, talk about it.
Nice.
So you can follow that, follow MuslimARC, follow Break the Room Media. So yeah, but I'm the moderator.
I'm
Go ahead,
everywhere
Qasim.
at Qasim A. Basir. My film A Boy, Girl, A Dream just dropped on Starz channel. So if you got the Starz app, check that out. A Boy, A Girl, A Dream. When the TV show when we can mention it, it'll be out in the trades. Support that, because I think there's a thing about this screen here when it's in people's homes around the country. Like a lot of people, if people don't know someone, I met this woman on the plane. She was like, I didn't meet a Black person until I was 30. I was like, oh, okay. But she was for real. And she lived in Michigan, and this is outside of Detroit and Flint and Ann Arbor. Michigan is hella country. Don't get it twisted. But she told me this, literally face to face, meet, shaking, touching. And so when people don't have access to certain people, seeing them on a screen, people are inviting people into their homes to say a thing to them. Mm-hmm. Families, if it's a weekly show, every week this family's coming into your home, saying things, presenting ideas, offering themselves as human beings. And so if you have a show that has people in it, like us, and people are listening to that and watching that, then it could really do something, And so when the show drops, check it out, and hopefully it'll expand and keep going, and we'll get into hella seasons, and but that's all I got right now.
Yeah. Okay. It is important to support the shows and the projects, and not to judge it before you see it. I think so we can continue to have these opportunities. I was going to say, to piggyback off of you meeting that white woman, I did a comedy show, and a Jewish woman came to me after the show, came up to me and said, I came to this because I wanted to see how this was going to work, because they said there was a Muslim comedian, and I didn't know Muslims could laugh. She was dead serious, and it wasn't a joke. So I don't know what, we're doing stuff, maybe we have more work to do. I don't know what that's about, or maybe she needs to go outside. I don't know. But my handle is @Trevina everywhere, and you can support me I'll post about my upcoming shows, whether it's stand-up or sketch, and you can check me out on both seasons of Strange Angel and CBS All Access.
Watch you. Thank you. Nice.
Well, for me, our film Jinn is currently streaming on Amazon Prime and on iTunes, so you can watch it on there. If you know any people in New York City, it's going to be having a theatrical run at BAM Cinematheque from tomorrow until September 12th. Currently, I am working on my second feature film that I hope to be shooting early next year in Oakland. It is a love story. And the show that I wrote for, it is an Apple show called Swagger, should be coming out early next year, so you can keep an eye out for that. And I'm on Twitter, Nigela1. I'm on Facebook, on Instagram, and so yeah, just we're doing it.
So you can follow MuslimARC at MuslimARC. That we have an upcoming awards, Racial Justice Awards Gala, and one of our honorees, Ismahan, will be honored there for all of her great work in San Diego and beyond. We have Samir Gardezi, who we partnered with him on his first Break the Room, which produced the scripts for a series called East La Brea. And so we hope that you could come out on the 21st of September. Yes. Yeah, lots of fun stuff. We hope that it'll be real and fun, but not too much fun because we got to keep it halal. So, thank you.
Thank you, and please thank our panelists, and thank you all for coming, and thank you again to the WG Foundation, Writers Guild Foundation, Enid, Dustin, thank you. As far as MPAC is concerned, we're partnering up with Wayfair Entertainment on a feature film lab. We're still accepting applications through next Thursday. The lab itself is on October 8th. Is that correct, Lori? And then we're having our 19th annual convention on November 19th, and our theme is This Is Our America. Please don't rush out. Get to know each other. Get to know one another, because God willing, you'll all be working together and making those Oscar-winning, Emmy-winning projects. So thank you again, and God bless. Assalamu alaikum.